On June 11, 1962, Frank Morris, John Anglin, and Clarence Anglin escaped the Alcatraz prison. There has been no trace of these convicts ever since, but to the prison officials and the FBI, this escape was a head-scratcher, because all before attempted escapees either drowned in the sea or got caught early. So how did this escape even come about? Over weeks, the prisoners built an electric drill, inflatable boat, and paper mache heads. They created the electric drill using a spoon, a dime, and a vacuum motor, an inflatable boat using 50 stolen raincoats, and paper mache heads with paper, paint, and hair. In their cells, they drilled the salt-damaged walls around the air vent. They worked on this during music hour to mask the noise. Once they could access the air vent, they cleared all obstacles, and to not arouse any suspicions, they had false walls covering the drilled holes. On escape night, the prisoners placed their paper mache heads and pillows under their blankets to make it seem they were in bed. Next, they climbed into the vents to exit the building, and then they went out to sea with their inflated boat, escaping Alcatraz forever. Trying to achieve your goals with hope is as difficult as escaping Alcatraz. It might be possible, but it's extremely difficult. Honestly, I can give you several reasons why you should not rely on hope when chasing your goals and dreams. But in this video, I'm only going to give you 3, and those 3 will be good enough reasons not to rely on hope in general. So, what are these 3 reasons? I'm glad you asked. So the 3 reasons are: hope makes you passive, fearful, and makes you experiment less. Alright, let's talk about how hope makes you passive. When people hope, they're actually undermining themselves from making any serious progress. And why do I say that? Well, the thing about hope is that whether you realize it or not, you're actually giving up a portion, or maybe even all, of your personal power to change a situation. With hope, you're relying way too much on external factors, and in that process, you're negating your personal power. And really, all you can do is sit down and just pray that everything works out. And if you've been alive on this earth for at least 10 years, you know that's not how things usually work. And I know this sounds harsh, but listen, I used to hope for so many better situations. I used to rely on so many external factors that I had no control over. I hoped a toxic family member would change. I hoped my crush would like me back. I hoped that people would like me. Yet, when I look back on all those moments I hoped for, not many of them, if any, came to fruition, especially my goals and dreams. At the end of the day, it was my fault because I did nothing to change the situation. Had I thrown hope out the window and only relied on taking action consistently, I would have gotten so much more out of life early on. I would have stood up to that toxic family member, I would have asked my crush out, I would have initiated hangouts with people. Life would have been a lot more fruitful had I taken a more active role in my life. It's a simple but harsh truth. Another way hope can hold you back from getting what you want is by making you fearful. If you don't know by now, I love philosophy, especially a lot of ancient Greek and Roman stuff. And when I was 24, I came upon a passage by Seneca in his book Letters from a Stoic that really opened my eyes on how hope can actually make you very fearful of life. Cease to hope and you will cease to fear. Widely different they are. The two of them march in unison like a prisoner and the escort he is handcuffed to. Fear keeps pace with hope. Both belong to a mind in suspense, to a mind in a state of anxiety through looking into the future. Both are mainly due to projecting our thoughts far ahead of us instead of adapting ourselves to the present. Hope and fear are intimately linked to each other. When you hope for something, there's also the fear that you won't get it. And when you feel fear, it paralyzes you from taking the necessary action. Living with hope takes you away from the most precious moment you have, which is the present moment. You're so busy living in your head with hope and fear that life is passing you by. It's necessary that you shed hope so that you can shed fear. And there's this one Greek writer from the early 20th century that really summarizes this well. And I'm not gonna say his name because I'm going to butcher it pretty badly. But anyways, take a look. I hope for nothing, I fear nothing, I am free. When you choose not to hope and just embrace the current moments of your life, you're naturally going to come off as courageous and free, being able to live a life that is authentic to you. And if that's the cost for giving up hope, well, sign me up. Now, just hold your horses. Before we start dumping hope out of our lives, we still have one more reason why you shouldn't be hoping. So far, we've seen how hope can make you passive and fearful, but it doesn't end there. Hope can also stop you from experimenting in life. When hope is a significant drive in your life, it makes you play it safe, so you don't take any chances to mix things up, leaving you to stick with routine, with the same friends, the same TV show, the same habits, the same old boring life. I've seen this happen in my own life and in adults 10 to 20 years my senior, where with hope, they lose the drive to experiment with what life has to offer. And it makes sense when you're passive and fearful. The world seems too challenging, too much of a burden, and it's better for external factors or other people to figure it out. However, this is almost living like a dead person. When you lose your ability to experiment with social activities, career, dating, etc., you put the nail in the coffin trying to discover your true potential. This is odd because with hope, you want to become more than you are, and just waiting for things to work out. But the problem with too much waiting is that you act like a dead person who can't live anymore. Hope paralyzes that passion for life. There's no other way to put it. Just like that Greek writer said earlier in this video, if you hope for nothing, you'll fear nothing and you'll be free. Free to make mistakes, free to create experiences, and free to be yourself. Life has way too much to offer, and if you want to make some serious progress in your personal development, your goals and dreams and all that, then start shedding hope and start relying on yourself. Now, I know I sound like a total douche saying that hope is horrible, because a lot of us who are taught that hope is actually good, and if you go on social media or the news, you see that hope is something positive and enlightening. But let me just clarify, hope still sucks, but hope is only useful when you're in a very dire situation. And when I say dire, I mean you're suffering through a famine, going through a concentration camp, that type of thing. Viktor Frankl mentions in his excellent book, Man's Search for Meaning, how some people were able to make it through the Holocaust all because they had something to hope for. And in those cases, I highly value hope. See, I'm not a total douche. Well, maybe I still am. Anyways, so for those of you that are living in better conditions, do not rely on hope, but instead rely on yourself, courage, and your willingness to take action. And if you follow those three, trust me, you'll get a lot more out of life than hope. Because when you're actively engaged in your own life, you're going to get results and the opportunities to adjust and to improve yourself. And all of this down the line is gonna help you find success sooner or later. And the only regret you're gonna have is that you didn't start sooner. And one legendary person who understood that you couldn't rely on hope to get results, but instead rely on yourself, was Bill Walsh. If you don't know who Bill Walsh is, that's totally fine. Bill Walsh was a famous NFL coach. And you're probably wondering, why was he famous? Well, let's go down memory lane to figure that out. On January 9, 1979, the San Francisco 49ers hired Bill Walsh as the head coach and general manager. The team just finished their season with 2 wins and 14 losses. They looked hopeless. Walsh's first season as head coach was no better, with the same record as the previous season. But something was different this time. Although the team lost many games, they were much more competitive. Next season in 1980, the team got 6 wins and 10 losses, an improvement, but still a losing record. The patience of the 49ers executive team was running thin for Walsh. Despite the team's progress, the team was still no closer to making the playoffs. But Walsh was given another season to coach, and he paid no attention to doubts around his coaching ability. Then, for the 1981 season, the 49ers suddenly became NFL champions. Within 3 seasons, Walsh took the bottom-dwelling 49ers and turned them into champions, a feat unheard of in the NFL. But How did he do it? He didn't worry about anything else. He didn't hope that his opposition would be easier. He didn't hope for a more patient executive team. He didn't hope for favorable refs. Nope. He just focused on what he could do with his team, and that was it. And as you live your life, you need to focus on what you can do. Because if we're being brutally honest, you can do a lot more, but you're probably living short of your potential. So follow the basics, and trust me, the score will take care of itself in the end. That being said, when I convince people to shed hope and just go live life, sometimes they kind of go, how do you say, berserk and become a nihilist in the process. Being a nihilist is a mistake. Mind you, this is my opinion, my unsolicited, unfiltered opinion, and I'm gonna stick with it. But when people shed hope and become nihilists and they start spouting those stupid statements like, it doesn't matter in the long run, or what's the point? All those statements and more are incredibly immature because your life is based on your actions. Even if the results will be forgotten by everyone and the world, it doesn't matter. Your life is based on your actions. Great civilizations like the Romans, Greeks, Mongols, Turks, Egyptians, Abyssinians, and many more all built and developed great societies. Yet, you look at these places now, and they pale compared to what their ancestors had achieved. So if these great leaders of these past civilizations were nihilists, they wouldn't have achieved or developed much, perhaps delaying the growth and prosperity of preceding generations. Anyways, the point I'm trying to get across is that you'll get much more meaning and satisfaction in your life when you make a conscious effort towards your goals and dreams. Even if you fail in that process, it doesn't matter because it's the journey, the things you learn, and the person you've become in the end that makes it all worth it. So don't rely on hope, but instead rely on yourself, your courage, and your willingness to take action. And in the long run, whether you get amazing success or not, it doesn't matter. You're going to turn into a wonderful, well-rounded individual. And to me, that's worth shedding hope for. Anyways, before this gets a little too corny, let's wrap this video up with a summary. When you rely on hope to achieve your goals, you make yourself passive, fearful, and reluctant to experiment. Hope makes you passive since it makes you dependent on external factors like people, situations, etc. for success with your goals. Hope makes you fearful since the hope of success is also accompanied by the fear of failure, making you hesitant to take action. Hope makes you experiment less in life. Being passive and fearful culminates in not wanting to try new things, paralyzing your passion for life. Hope is suitable only for dire situations, but other than that, it should not be relied on. A simple mistake of shedding hope is becoming a nihilist. Being a nihilist is a weak excuse to not make the most out of life since it will all be gone in the long run. But your actions will give your life meaning and satisfaction despite that it will not matter in the eternity of time. It may take you some time to rid yourself of hope, but understand this, you are more capable than you think. Because if 3 criminals can escape the inescapable Alcatraz, just imagine what you can do. Anyway guys, that's it for today. Thank you again for watching. Please don't forget to like this video, comment, subscribe to my channel, subscribe to my newsletter for some exclusive content. But other than that guys, remember, you're not just any type of nerd, you're a charismatic nerd.